Chapter 17:26. I'll give you 30 seconds. If you don't surrender in 30 seconds, then you can say goodbye to your wife, children, and family. Countdown begin. The mysterious cloaked man completely ignored Lin Feng. It was as though he wasn't afraid that Lin Feng would kill him in a fit of anger. He was even convinced that Lin Feng would compromise and make the right decision. In fact, his judgment was very accurate. If he hadn't discovered and removed the threat of the 10,000 spider blood python formation, Lin Feng might have really compromised. Death was just the body. However, his wife, children, mother, Lin Wanqing, and family members would never be able to come back from the dead. If he really had to make a choice, Lin Feng, family was undoubtedly more important. However, there was another change at the moment. Hesitation and conflict. Lin Feng's expression kept changing. It was as though he was constantly making a painful choice. Sensing Lin Feng's mental activity, he couldn't make up his mind. Even Gu Sheng and the other experts of the human and ancient races felt uneasy. Their expressions were extremely ugly, and they seemed to be a loss. If Lin Feng compromised, they really didn't know what would happen to them. However, they didn't know that Lin Feng was just acting. Since he was acting, he naturally had to go through with it. 15, 14, 13. The mysterious cloaked man slowly counted. He was calm and composed. It was as though he was very confident in Lin Feng's decision. Although his appearance couldn't be seen, one could imagine his sneering expression. He was very pleased with himself. He had grasped Lin Feng's weakness. You win. Lin Feng's voice was hoarse as he slowly uttered these 3 words. When the human and ancient race experts heard this answer, their eyes widened and their hearts seemed to stop beating. On the other hand, the mysterious cloaked man laughed strangely with a hint of mockery. I can promise you, but Lin Feng stared at the mysterious cloaked man. Take off your mask. I want to know your identity. I'll grant your wish. The mysterious cloaked person did not hesitate at all. Almost instantly, he took off his mask. The cloak scattered with a pop, revealing a strong body and an expressionless face. He stared at Lin Feng like a wild beast. As expected, it wasn't him. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he instantly confirmed it. Although the mysterious person in front of him was powerful, he was just a puppet. Just by looking at how his mind was affected by the gray energy in his eyes, he could tell that he was in a daze. Lin Feng was very familiar with the aura of death and the gray energy, especially since he himself was proficient in the aura of death. Are you satisfied? Then go to hell. The mysterious man's figure flashed like a shooting star. The emerald green dagger in his hand emitted a frightening cold light as it went straight for Lin Feng's throat. In an instant, the human and ancient experts cried out in alarm. Their faces turned pale as if they were suffocating. The experts of the Heavenly Spirit sect stared at the sky, waiting for Lin Feng's death. However, God-destroying sun altar. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Almost instantly, the dazzling light that made the experts of the Heavenly Spirit sect shudder appeared again and enveloped the mysterious man. Body lock. Chi. Lin Feng's hand was like a knife as it mercilessly killed the mysterious man in an instant. Body lock was like using a body lock talisman. It was simple, but it had a miraculous effect. The emerald green dagger in the mysterious man's hand was still flashing with cold light, but he could no longer move. His expressionless head was thrown into the air. Obviously, he did not expect Lin Feng to kill him. Penguai. Lin Feng's eyes instantly shone brightly. After a short period of recovery, his soul power had almost recovered to 20%. Although it was quite strenuous to use Penguai, he had to do it now. The invasion of his soul instantly devoured the mysterious man's soul, which had already lost its vitality. At the same time, a clear feeling flashed in his mind, but it was cut off in an instant. It was as if a thread that connected them had been cut off, but it was this momentary delay, but it was already too late. The kingdom of Meru? Lin Feng's soul returned, and his eyes regained their luster. Although they were weak, they were bright and resolute. He should have thought about it earlier. The power of the 10,000 spiders blood python formation was not something that could be easily activated. Even if it was to be detonated, there should be someone nearby. Furthermore, the person who was secretly plotting against him was so cautious. The person who was sent to threaten him was only a puppet. The person must be hiding in the safest place. Where is the safest place? The most dangerous place was the safest place. Furthermore, the kingdom of Maru was not there himself, so he would not suspect anything. It was indeed very safe to hide there, but this time, let's see where you can escape to. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The kingdom of Maru. Oh no! Lam Tok Ti's expression changed greatly, and his eyes flashed with ferocity and malice. He sensed that Lin Feng was looking at him. It felt as if there was a pair of eyes in the sky that could see through him. His expression changed again and again, and he was full of disbelief. Lam Tok Ti knew Lin Feng's character like the back of his hand. He knew that Lin Feng would definitely sacrifice his life for his family. But how could he fail? Lam Tok Ti gritted his teeth, and in an instant, a dark luster appeared in his hand. It was like a black spider, and it looked extremely strange and sinister in his palm. Lin Feng, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Blue veins popped out, and Lam Tok Ti's astral power was released to the limit. The black spider's eyes flashed, and there was an extremely demonic feeling to it. Lam Tok Ti looked like he was possessed by a demon. He gritted his teeth, and his face was distorted. But in an instant, how is this possible? Lam Tok Ti's face was aghast. No, this is impossible. Somewhat panicked, Lam Tok Ti stared at the black spider, and once again crazily poured astral power into it. However, he couldn't feel the existence of the 10,000 spider blood python formation, not even a single one. It was as if it had suddenly lost its response. This sudden change caught Lam Tok Ti off guard, but he quickly understood. Damn it, Lin Feng, you're ruthless. Clenching his fists, his body trembling. How could someone as smart as Lam Tok Ti not figure out the reason? Without a doubt, the 10,000 spider blood python formation had been broken by Lin Feng, which was why he was so unrestrained and unafraid of threats. But how can this be? Lin Feng broke the 10,000 spider blood python formation, but why didn't the blood python spider react at all? Impossible, impossible! With an extremely ugly expression, Lam Tok Ti couldn't figure out the reason. He naturally didn't know that the 10,000 spider blood python formation had been broken at the god-destroying Yang altar, so he couldn't send a message, so the blood python spider naturally wouldn't have any reaction. After all, this was just a simple structural connection and not the kind of intimacy that was related by blood. Just you wait, Lin Feng. Don't think that you've won just like that. We'll have plenty of time in the future. Oomph. With an angry snort, a deep hatred flashed between his brows. Lam Tok Ti instantly broke through the air and left. 10 years was not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. As long as one was alive, there were endless possibilities. In terms of endurance, Lam Tok Ti was confident that he wasn't inferior to anyone. If he deliberately wanted to hide, he believed that absolutely no one would be able to find him, including Lin Feng. But things in the world would never go as expected. How could one not wet one's shoes if one often walked by the river? This time, Lam Tok Ti was destined to be unable to escape the kingdom of Maru, because after the 10,000 spider blood python formation incident, Lin Feng's surveillance of the kingdom of Maru could be said to be airtight. If it was in other regions, Lam Tok Ti might have a chance to escape, but here, whoosh, buzz, rumble, countless winged insects flew from all directions in the air, their pitch-black shells flashing with a terrifying light. As far as the eye could see, there were at least tens of thousands of them densely packed together, and they seemed to appear endlessly, covering the entire sky. Lam Tok Ti's expression changed, and he couldn't react in time. He frowned slightly, and his killing intent suddenly erupted. Want to catch me? With this group of insects, Lin Feng, you're too naive. Get lost. Lam Tok Ti roared. Today, he was no longer the ignorant person he used to be. He had already entered the Saint King realm, and he had obtained the relic of an expert. Although Lam Tok Ti's strength was not as strong as Lin Feng's, among the human experts, only Wan Macho, Fong Ning, and a few others could be his match. Winged insects alone were indeed unable to restrain him. However, if the winged insects were here, how could Wing not be? Chi! Chi! Countless vines appeared and covered the sky. Although Wing's strength was inferior to Lam Tok Ti's, in terms of defense and control, he was the best among the Saint Kings. Moreover, he had tens of millions of winged insects. Just by exhausting them, he could probably exhaust Lam Tok Ti to death. Unless one was as strong as Lin Feng, it would not be easy to break through Wing's control. Wizard Tribe Realm. Whoosh! The brilliant light appeared again. The god-destroying Yang altar disappeared, and Lin Feng appeared again, but this time his expression was completely different. Most importantly, the mysterious cloaked man from before had disappeared without a trace. The experts of Heaven's spirit realm looked over with doubts and uneasiness, especially Kuei too, whose heart was in a mess. He did not know what had happened, but his intuition told him, danger. It was quite dangerous. In an instant, Kuei Tu's expression changed drastically, because Lin Feng's gaze had locked onto him. Not good. Kuei Tu knew that things were not good. At this moment, he could not care about anything else and turned to leave. However, with his speed, how could he escape Lin Feng's lock? Want to leave? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a bright light, and the god-destroying Yang altar appeared once again. It was like a huge mountain pressing down, and its aura directly suppressed Kuei Tuesday. The god-destroying Yang altar became extremely large, and not only did it envelop Kuei Tu, it also enveloped countless Heaven Spirit Realm experts. It contains dense gray energy, but its consciousness is clear. If it's not those old monsters in the 10,000 Bone Empire, it must have swallowed Huang Jifu's soul. No matter which one it is, it's not a good thing. Lin Feng's gaze was extraordinary. In an instant, his body disappeared along with the god-destroying Yang altar and entered it. So what if there were many experts in the god-destroying Yang altar? That day, he could kill hundreds of peak Saint Kings in the 10,000 Bone Empire one by one. These ordinary Heaven Spirit Realm experts were like fireflies compared to that time. They were not worth mentioning at all. Their time of death had arrived. The new book Blade Shatters the Galaxy has been uploaded. I hope that everyone can continue to support Xiao Xiao. Thank you, Carrot Carrot. Chapter 1727. Outside the territory of the Sorcerer Tribe, both sides held their breaths. Their hearts were filled with unease and worry. The Heavenly Spirit Tribe did not know what the situation was, while the humans and ancient races were still worried. Based on Lin Feng's words, they were afraid that Lin Feng would be threatened and have no choice but to obey. However, based on Lin Feng's behavior, it did not seem like that was the case. What had happened? Everyone was confused. Soon, the answer was clear. Whoosh! As a familiar bright light shone, Lin Feng once again appeared in the sky, bringing with him a bloody light that covered the ground. It was as if a goddess was scattering flowers, causing the faces of the Heavenly Spirit sex experts to turn pale. Their hearts trembled, but they could not even feel anger. Other than shock, there was only fear. Deep fear. His strength alone was so terrifying. In close combat, he had killed the number 1 and number 2 experts of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe. In long-range attacks, he was as powerful as all the fire-type Heavenly Spirit Masters of the ancient races. Other than invincible, there was no other word to describe him. Looking at Lin Feng, the experts of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe felt as if they were looking at a demon. They trembled from the bottom of their hearts. They had long been scared out of their wits by Lin Feng's killing. Heavenly Spirit, we humans have no intention of starting a war with you. If you're willing, you can send someone to talk to us. Lin Feng spoke slowly as he looked at the natives who were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. His current physical condition was not ideal. It would be good if he could fight less. Moreover, the Heavenly Spirit Tribe had cultivated for many years. If they really fought to the death, even if the humans won, they would have to pay a heavy price. Not to mention, the heavenly spirit tribe had lived from the ancient times until now. It was not easy for them to get rid of the heavenly spirit tribe. Moreover, deep down, he did not want to kill the heavenly spirit tribe. Strictly speaking, they were the true masters of the Doling world, while the humans were the invaders. If he could leave a part of the heavenly spirit tribe's bloodline in a limited area, it would not be a big deal. Lin Feng's words caused a commotion. Although the human and ancient race experts felt that Lin Feng's actions were slightly strange, they respected Lin Feng from the bottom of their hearts and did not have any doubts about his decision. As for the heavenly spirit sect, there was a result soon. Although many of them had been killed by Lin Feng, the heavenly spirit sect did not dare to say anything. Though the underworld emperor was reluctant, he still flew to the front of Lin Feng cautiously as a representative of the underworld emperor. He was rather worried that Lin Feng's brilliant light would devour him at any moment. If that happened, he would follow in the footsteps of Cheng Ba and Huang Jifu. Lin Feng no Renwang. The emperor of the underworld forced a smile. Lin Feng looked at the emperor of the underworld with bright eyes. Emperor of the underworld, you and I were once friends. I will not make things difficult for you. I might as well tell you that the emperor of the underworld and the four kings of hell have represented Emperor Yin City to bury the hatchet with the humans. If you are willing, you can pretend that nothing happened today and return to the underworld immediately. I promise you in the name of the Ren Huang that I will not attack the underworld for no reason, but if the underworld participates in the next war with the humans, don't blame me for being merciless. Hearing this, the emperor of the underworld's eyes lit up. Lin Feng was different from before. His promise was more effective than any treaty. Simply put, as long as he retreated, the underworld would be able to return to its peaceful days. The emperor of the underworld had never been ambitious. He was satisfied with this result. Afraid that Lin Feng would go back on his word, he immediately agreed. It's a deal. It's a deal. Lin Feng nodded. In an instant, the emperor of the underworld returned to the heavenly spirit tribe happily. Without another word, he left with the underworld cultivators. In an instant, the heavenly spirit tribe was emptied out. Using the same method, Lin Feng defeated them one by one. After the underworld cultivators left, the emperor of Lulan understood the situation very well. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. After receiving Lin Feng's promise, he naturally retreated completely. In the blink of an eye, the heavenly spirit tribe only had Ji and the cultivators from the imperial capital left. With Cheng Ba dead, the imperial capital had no leader. After receiving Lin Feng's promise, the cultivators from the imperial capital immediately dispersed. Originally, the three imperial cities and the imperial capital did not care about worldly affairs. Only Ji had always been ambitious. He was unwilling to fall behind and had always wanted to reclaim the Doling world. The reason why the heavenly spirit tribe joined the war this time was because of Ji's influence and Huang Jifu's existence. The vassals could be released, but the masterminds, Lin Feng, would not let them go. This was not the first time Ji had started a war. Those who joined Ji were all extremists in the heavenly spirit tribe. If he did not kill them, they would sooner or later be a disaster. Without the underworld cultivators, the Lulan kingdom and the imperial capital's cultivators were not a match for the humans and ancients at all. Perhaps exterminating Ji would incur the wrath of the heavenly spirit tribe, but he did not care. Kill. Without any superfluous words, Lin Feng raised his hand and flames exploded. His killing intent soared. There was no need for explanations and no need to waste any time. He used his actions to tell all the humans and ancients that the remaining Ji experts kill without mercy. Boom! In an instant, the auras of the humans and ancients exploded. They had been waiting for a long time. With Lin Feng holding the line, they had nothing to fear. Facing the low morale of the humans and ancients were like sharp blades that pierced through them instantly. There was no suspense in the battle. The kingdom of Meru. Boom, bang, clang. Lam Tok Ti kept attacking. It was as if he was possessed by Azura. He was valiant and good at fighting. The winged insects could not get close to him at all. Even their attacks could not hurt Lam Tok T at all. On the contrary, many of them were killed by Lam Tok T. However, even though Lam Tok T had the absolute advantage, his brows were tightly furrowed, and his expression was very ugly. He could not escape. These strange wood spirits that appeared out of nowhere were like a swarm of flies that could not be chased away. They forcefully held him back, and there was no way for him to leave. Not to mention the endless black insects that covered the mountains and plains. Just the branches alone were like weeds that could never be cut. Annoying. Extremely annoying. Lam Tok T knew very well that the longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. This was because his whereabouts were now completely exposed. Damn it! Damn it! After a frenzied attack, Lam Tok T was like a ferocious beast, constantly cutting off the branches of the winged insects. For a moment, his outburst was as fierce and valiant as a heavenly soldier. However, just as he vaguely felt a glimmer of light and saw the hope of escaping, boom! A huge figure landed in front of him like a mountain. It was a huge and muscular man who was at least 10 meters tall. There were 2 horns on his head and a huge black axe on his back. His whole body was furry and his upper body was naked. His strong muscles looked as if they were about to explode. His arms and legs were like iron pillars. His appearance directly suppressed Lam Tok T's aura. No! Lam Tok T widened his eyes and retreated in horror. Bull Demon King. The person who came was the bull demon who had come back from the dead. After being saved by Lin Feng, the bull demon returned to the Thousand Snake cave to recuperate. Only now did he accept Lin Feng's invitation to come out of the mountain again to temporarily protect the kingdom of Meru. After this battle, the bull demon's strength had a breakthrough again. There was not much difference between him and the previous great sage. Although his strength had not fully recovered, to deal with a mere Lam Tok T, it could not be easier. Lin Feng, Lam Tok T roared hysterically. He knew that he had no hope of survival. Don't be happy too early. The Witch Tribe's army is now at the gates. You humans will be buried with me. Ha 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 ha. In the sky above the Tianwu continent, unbridled laughter reverberated. It was a kind of catharsis, madness, and persistence of the obsession in one's heart. Facing the bull demon and facing Wing's heavy encirclement, Lam Tok T's lips curled into a contemptuous sneer. Suddenly, his blood-red eyes widened. His whole body twitched and his muscles swelled. His face was twisted and ferocious like an evil spirit. Lin Feng, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Pung! There was a violent explosion. Lam Tok T's swollen muscles were torn apart in an instant. Blood splattered everywhere. His eyes were filled with deep hatred, like an evil spirit. His head fell from the sky. What was seen was a pair of eyes full of resentment and resentment. They contained a deep obsession. He should have been a hero of a generation, but he was so heartless. Lam Tok T dead, the southern region. This was the center of the 9 great regions of the human race. It was also the place of origin. This was where the human race's alliance was located. More than half of their forces were sent to the sorcerer tribe's border. Other than the ancient race's 3 ancient gods, there was also the Water Curtain Caves faction led by Fang Ning and Shui Yumei. Xiao Jian, Shi Jixin, Jie Ji, and other experts weren't weak. But at this moment, the enemy they were facing was much stronger. It was the sorcerer tribe's army, personally led by Sorcerer Emperor Shi Jiuyin. Countless sorcerer tribe experts were attacking from all directions. This time, they had come prepared. Their goal was simple and brutal: raze the southern region to the ground. Since taking up his position, Shi Jiuyin had not achieved any great merit. He had endured it time and time again. This time, he had finally obtained a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity: raze the southern region to the ground, exterminate the human and ancient race's forces guarding the southern region, and then slaughter the entire city to show the sorcerer tribe's might. Stupid Kuei, too, against the human and ancient race's core forces. Let them fight to their heart's content. A cold light flickered in Shi Jiuyin's eyes. He had never treated Kuei Tu and Lam Tok Ti as real brothers. Between them, they only used each other. Hovering in the air above the Sorcerer Tribe's army, Shi Juin calmly commanded the Sorcerer Tribe's army to destroy the city. Watching the Sorcerer Kings showing off their might, forcing the human and ancient races to retreat, a rare satisfied smile appeared on Shi Juin's face. There was no doubt that he would win this battle. Soon, the human and ancient races would have nowhere to retreat. When the Sorcerer Tribe's army reached the city gates, only death would await them. While Shi Juin was overjoyed, he was stunned for a moment. What's going on? Shi Juin frowned as he looked ahead. There was an inexplicable commotion in the Sorcerer Tribe's army. Countless Sorcerer Tribe experts seemed to be surrounding a monster, attacking with all their might. But that monster casually swung its claws and tail, killing them mercilessly. In the blink of an eye, all the Sorcerer Tribe experts that were close to the monster died. At this time, Shi Juin finally saw the monster's true face. What is that thing? Shi Juin's eyes widened in shock. Author note: my new book, Blade Shatters the Star River, is on the second day of publication. I hope everyone can come and support me. Chapter 1728. Xiao Xiao had never published a single chapter before. But thinking about it, the fire purge was about to come to an end. If he didn't even publish a single chapter, he would feel that something was missing, right? Let's get back to the main topic. There is only one purpose for this chapter: advertising. Yes, it was a blatant advertisement. Star Shatterblade. 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 Book number 348, 3482. Book number 348, 3482. Book number 348, 3482. Okay, the commercial is over. Let's continue chatting. To be honest, no one was perfect, and Xiao Xiao herself was prone to making mistakes. The early stages of Fire Refinement were actually pretty good, and traditional Chinese was also published. However, one could not be too proud of one's achievements and become complacent. After 1,000,000 words, Xiao Xiao got a little carried away and wrote too casually. In the end, traditional Chinese ended after 25 episodes. Now that he was done for, it became the fuse that ignited the fire. His interest waned, and with a slight income, he began to slack off. Those of you who have just started Inferno Trials should know that Xiao Xiao's update speed wasn't slow at all. In the beginning, it was at 10,000, and then it gradually increased to 6,000. And towards the end, how should I put it? Something happened at home, and it was actually quite confusing. It was the first time that I experienced a real funeral, and it could be said that it was a huge blow to me, and it directly caused me to fall into depression for half a year. All right, I digress. Xiao Xiao had already passed that period of time. Fortunately, he found himself again and found his passion for writing again. That was how this new book, Blade Shatters the Galaxy, was born. Truth be told, Fire Smelting the Starry Sky had actually ended 2 months ago. The main reason was to have enough time to write a new book. This time, I don't want to fail. I want to win. He really wanted to win. I won't say anything else, but I hope that everyone will collect Xiao Xiao's new book, Blade Shatters the Galaxy. I will use 120% of my passion to write this book. My new book will be maintained at around 6,000 words. After July 1st, it will continue to explode. I want to fight for the monthly votes for my new book. I want to enter premium. Very persistent, very much a dream, but I really want to do it. What Huolien couldn't do, what I couldn't do. If I can't do it, I'll have to trouble everyone to take it down directly. I hope to receive your supervision and support. I don't expect this new book to be a hit, but at the very least, I will make it worthy of myself and worthy of this one and only chapter. Finally, No words can describe how I feel about all of you who have been reading Huolien until now. You guys are the best. Because of your subscriptions and your support, I can truly become a full-time writer without any worries. I could do what I want to do and write what I want to write. I'm very glad that after 3 years, I've found my original self, the one who is passionate about writing and full of hope. Here, Xiao Xiao promises everyone that I will do my best to write the next book, the one after that, and the one after that. Once again, I deeply thank you. May 22nd, 1:30 a.m. Please support Blade Shatters the Galaxy. Chapter 1729. What was that? The Sorcerer Tribe was not the only one who was shocked. The human and ancient tribe experts also widened their eyes in shock. It was an evil demon with huge wings and scales all over his body. He looked like a dragon, but not a dragon. He looked like a tiger, but also like a lion. He was like a prehistoric monster filled with violence. His huge body could split mountains and rocks. He charged into the army of the Sorcerer Tribe alone, like an elephant stepping on ants. The army of the Sorcerer Tribe screamed in pain. Bang! 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 The appearance of the evil demon with wings instantly turned the situation around. The experts of the Sorcerer Tribe besieged him from all directions and attacked him wave after wave. However, it was as if they were just tickling the evil demon. They could not hurt him at all. On the contrary, the evil demon waved his claws and tail. Even his wings were like sharp blades that tore apart the experts of the Sorcerer Tribe. Powerful. Extremely powerful. The human and ancient tribe experts were shocked and felt suffocated. What is that? I don't know, but he seems to be on our side? How can this be? How can this monster be on our side? But who cares? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Look at him killing the army of the Sorcerer Tribe. Haha, hero, continue to kill. Don't give us any face. Kill to your heart's content. Kill. Good job. That's awesome. Hero, we support you. Kill all these ugly monsters of the Sorcerer Tribe. They were shocked, surprised, and then overjoyed. The human and ancient tribe experts seemed to have nothing to do. They kept waving their flags and shouting excitedly. All the combat power of the Sorcerer Tribe was focused on the evil demon with wings. A crack had been torn in the middle of the army. If they did not kill the evil demon with wings, the Sorcerer Tribe would not be able to continue attacking the human and ancient tribe. However, could they kill him? Even Lin Feng could not break the defense of the world-destroying demon god. How could these small fries do it? Although the demon god's devil spirit had not fully recovered, his huge body was enough to prove that he had passed the period of weakness. The Shield of Truth still had a lot of deathly aura. The demon god's current combat power was only slightly weaker than when he had left the cemetery. However, the difference was not worth mentioning. Even the demon god of destruction in his weakened state could easily wipe out the army of the Sorcerer Tribe. In terms of physical strength alone, he was already invincible. Lam Tok Ti was indeed smart. His calculations were flawless, and his plan was flawless. Unfortunately, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Facing Lin Feng, his skills were always inferior. It wasn't that he was inferior in terms of intelligence, but rather in terms of luck. More importantly, it was the difference in absolute strength. Lin Feng's strength was enough to break through any of Lam Tok Ti's schemes. His failure was already destined. Even a last saber had struck nothing but air. Did the Sorcerer Tribe have any hope of winning against a human base guarded by a world-destroying devil god? The possibility was zero. The war lasted for a long time, regardless of whether it was at the Sorcerer Tribe realm, where Lin Feng's original body was, or at the southern region, where the world-destroying demon god was. After all, this was a true battle between different races. The demon god of destruction's frenzied counterattack had killed many human and ancient race experts. However, after Lin Feng swiftly killed several demon god of destruction's experts, the situation became one-sided, and the demon god of destruction's forces were annihilated. Even so, despite knowing that there was no hope, the demon god of destruction's experts persisted until the end. They would rather die than submit. Although they were enemies, Lin Feng still admired them in his heart. From their position, there was nothing wrong with what they had done. They were all true martial artists. It was a pity that they walked different paths. On the other hand, the situation on the southern region side was completely different. After countless sorcerer tribe experts were killed, Shi Juin finally decided to retreat with a gloomy expression on his face. Seeing this monster slaughtering the sorcerer tribe's experts without any way to escape, Shi Juin's heart turned cold. He was afraid, and retreating was within reason. Shi Juin was indeed smart, but compared to Sorcerer Emperor Jiang, Shi Juin was too far away. Just in terms of temperament, the difference was like heaven and earth. Shi Juin did not have the heart of a cultivator. His defeat was destined. A complete victory. The human and ancient race camps had won another great victory. And this time, it was a fundamental victory. Tianling's retreat and the demon god of destruction had pushed the sorcerer tribe to the edge of a cliff. Lin Feng had let Tianling go because of a moment of benevolence, but he hated the sorcerer tribe. Hence, he did not attack the sorcerer tribe's boundary. Lin Feng led the human and ancient race armies back to the southern region to recuperate. On one hand, he had exhausted a lot of his strength. On the other hand, he wanted the sorcerer tribe to go home. After the sorcerer tribe's army returned to the sorcerer tribe's boundary, he would catch them all in one fell swoop. So what if the sorcerer tribe's boundary was strong? With the world-exterminating archdevil as the vanguard, Lin Feng's terrifying firepower, and the high morale of the human and ancient race experts, breaking through the sorcerer tribe's boundary was a piece of cake. The human and ancient race camps were celebrating their victory because of Lin Feng's return. In the hearts of the human race, as long as Lin Feng was there was nothing they couldn't do. The great victory this time proved once again that, indeed, the current Lin Feng could overturn rivers and seas by himself, allowing the human race to stand at the peak of the Douling world. Although the ancient race was envious, they were also glad that they had formed an alliance with the human race. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once the human race eliminated the demonic beast race and the sorcerer tribe, the only one left would be the ancient race. But now, they were no longer enemies. No human expert dared to go against Lin Feng's promise. Challenging Lin Feng's authority was not only seeking death, but also angering the entire human race. No one would be so stupid. 3 months later, while Shi Juin was still thinking about how to deal with the human race and the terrifying monster, Lin Feng had personally led the human army to surround the sorcerer tribe's boundary. With the world-exterminating archdevil as the vanguard, the human and ancient race experts followed closely behind, slaughtering their way into the sorcerer tribe's boundary. The heavenly spirit kingdom's 3 imperial cities were closed. The isolated and helpless sorcerer tribe was massacred by the human race and ancient race experts. The sorcerer kings were mercilessly killed by Lin Feng and the world-exterminating archdevil, cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. For this attack, Lin Feng had planned for a long time to prevent the sorcerer tribe from escaping and leaving behind future troubles. We won. We won. Long live Emperor Lin. Rise of the human race. Cheers and cheers resounded in every corner of the Douling world. Killing the demonic beast race, retreating from the heavenly spirit kingdom, exterminating the sorcerer tribe, the human race had climbed from the lowest level of the Douling world to the peak, laughing in the end. After 3 great wars, the human race had finally risen. Under Lin Feng's leadership, they had become the true masters of the Douling world. There were no more disputes. In the annals of history, Lin Feng had become a religion, a god in every human's heart. He had saved the human race. He had made the human race great. New book Blade shatters the Star River seeking support. Chapter 1730. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed since the extermination of the sorcerer tribe. Over the past 10 years, there had been new developments and changes every day. Humans had developed rapidly. Not only did they dominate most of the inland regions of the Doling world, but their power also spread across the entire sea region. The demon race, which was once glorious, had been defeated by humans. Other than being used as a training ground for the powerful humans, they had no other power. They only had a few martial sage experts. It was difficult for the once powerful race to rise again. Without the large-scale spirit-gathering formation, what else did the demon race have other than their natural talents and reproductive abilities? Their success was because of the demon god, and their failure was also because of the demon god. Everything had been destined. Humans were the race with the real potential to develop. In the inland regions, the sorcerer tribe was almost extinct. They had been exterminated by Lin Feng. Only a few seeds were left, scattered in every corner of the inland regions. They were no longer a threat. The ancient race, who was allied with the humans, had developed well. Under Gu Sheng's leadership, they were thriving and were much stronger than when they were at their peak 10 years ago. Among them, Lin Feng had also helped them a lot. A small favor should be repaid with a large spring. If it weren't for the help of the ancient race back then, how could the human race have their current status? Moreover, Lin Feng had the blood of the ancient race in him. His mother and grandfather were still alive, so he could not treat the ancient race poorly. However, the ancient race's power was far inferior to that of the humans. It was like the difference between a firefly and the sun. Perhaps the ancient race was more talented than the humans, but their reproductive abilities were not on the same level. The gap between them was already 100 times, 1,000 times greater. Faced with such a difficult problem, Gu Sheng could not think of a solution. However, because of Lin Feng's popularity and becoming the hero of both the humans and the ancient race, he had become an invincible existence in the Doling world. The ancient race abolished the rule of intermarriage with the humans, and it started a wave of marriage between the two races. It was all thanks to Lin Feng. It was strange. It was difficult for the ancient race to reproduce, but intermarriage with the humans was like opening up the conception and governor vessels. It was relatively easy for them to reproduce. This made Gu Sheng's eyes light up as if he saw the hope of the ancient race. He strongly supported the intermarriage between the two races. Lin Feng was naturally happy to see such a situation. After all, he still had a deep sense of kinship with the ancient tribe in his heart. As for Tian Ling, these aboriginals' reproductive abilities were not much better than the aboriginals. It was all thanks to Lin Feng's benevolence that they were able to live in this small area. Lin Feng was not worried that the heavenly spirit would bite back at the humans in the future, because almost every year, the strength of the humans would double. The speed and pace of advancement was not something that the heavenly spirit could catch up to. Even without him, the current humans could still defeat the heavenly spirits. Whether it was in terms of the number or quality of powerhouses, the human race had completed the transformation. Qianlian Huang was the most amazing person in the past 10 years. Like Lin Feng, she had broken through to the 70% saint realm. She was an extraordinary woman with the greatest potential. In the 9th year of the rise of the human race, she had broken through before Lin Feng. She had broken through to the void-breaking realm and left, which had become a legend. Jieji, Shizhixin, Wan Macho, Fang Ning, Xiao Jian, and the other powerhouses had all reached the peak of the Saint King realm in the past 10 years. They were working hard in seclusion to cultivate. They all had the potential to break through to the starry sky. The human race had never been bad. God Realm, Pangu Staircase. A figure in a black martial attire was stepping on the Pangu staircase as if he was flying. It was Lin Feng. 10 years later, he was still resolute and tenacious. He was like a wild grass in the wind, full of persistence and stubbornness, constantly striving to improve himself. He had not wasted the past 10 years. He had been constantly improving. Now, Lin Feng's strength was terrifying. The phoenix fire in his original body had broken through to the starry sky level. Not only that, Duo had also repaired the other half of the god-destroying Lock-in altar and merged them into one. The strength of his original body could even rival that of the world-destroying demon god. His doppelganger was even stronger than his original body. Lin Feng, who had Pangu's inheritance and diligently cultivated the Pangu technique, crossed the 5,600 step in the first year after the peace. In the third year, he crossed the 5,800 step. He obtained precious treasures and the Heart Sutra, and his strength improved by leaps and bounds. If one were to talk about the strength of his doppelganger in detail, it would be, he could defeat the world-destroying demon god with his spear. This was the strength of his doppelganger and the terror of cultivating the Tao of the body. If Lin Feng had not insisted on pursuing the limits left behind by Pangu, he would have reached the limit of the Tao of the body at the preparatory Starry Sky warrior level. He would have broken through the limits of the Starry Sky world and become a Starry Sky powerhouse. However, Lin Feng was not in a hurry. According to Duo, the path to the Starry Sky was very long. It would not be too late to step into the Starry Sky with his strongest ability and best condition. This time, I will definitely make it. Lin Feng pursed his lips, his eyes filled with determination. His footwork was light, and he quickly crossed the 5,900 step. Lin Feng did not slow down at all. He climbed the steps step by step, and only gradually slowed down when he reached the 5,950th step. The pressure had already begun to hit him. However, Lin Feng was no stranger to it. He had walked this path too many times. Last time, he was defeated on the 5,997th step. This time, I will definitely make it. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. His Panga technique had already reached the limit. The energy in his body was completely saturated. He was like a full water tank that could not hold even a drop of water. One step after another, Lin Feng quickly entered the final sprint. 5,990th step, the 5,991st floor, the 5,993rd floor, 5,995 levels. He made it. Lin Feng still had energy left. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. Lin Feng clenched his fists tightly. His body trembled as he climbed. His current speed was much slower than walking. However, Lin Feng still successfully crossed the 5,997 step, breaking the previous record. 5,998 step. Lin Feng's eyes were blood red. His body trembled as he stepped on that step like a willow branch in the wind. Then, the last step. Gritting his teeth, Lin Feng took the last step. A thin line. Pum. His body seemed to have merged with the heaven and earth. He completely relaxed. All the pressure disappeared. Lin Feng felt extremely comfortable. He closed his eyes and immersed his mind in that wonderful moment. Stepping on the 5,990th step, according to Pangu, meant that his body had reached the limit of a reserved Starry Sky warrior. It was not the limit of the Doling world, but the limit of the Starry Sky world. Most importantly, there would be a message left on the 5,999th step. It would tell him how to cross the shackles and how to transform perfectly. Wah! A bright light flashed. Lin Feng, who was waiting for the message, suddenly changed his expression. He did not receive any message. Instead, he welcomed an extremely terrifying power that suddenly descended. Terrifying, an extremely terrifying power came crashing down like a mountain. This power could even destroy everything. Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. He wanted to dodge, but found that he could not move at all. It was as if his entire body was sucked in. No, he was trapped in the same place. An invisible binding firmly fixed him. A powerful force that was as strong as the heavens descended in an instant. Boom! It went straight to the top of his head. Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart stopped beating. Author's note: my new book, Blade Shatters the Milky Way, hopes that everyone will support Carrot Carrot. Chapter 1731. Am I dead? Lin Feng had a thought. That moment felt like an eternity. It was as if a century had passed. However, he still felt that his body was intact. There was nothing wrong with it. He was not injured at all. Lin Feng was shocked. He felt that it was strange. He had been hit by a terrifying force, but he was not injured at all. If he did not die, what was going on? Don't be afraid, child. A kind but majestic voice sounded in his mind. Lin Feng's eyes widened. He had never heard this voice before. However, it felt so familiar and close, as if it was his family. As the voice sounded, all the cells in his body seemed to be jumping with joy. In an instant, his body seemed to become transparent. Lin Feng was shocked to find that he could see his own body. It was as if he was looking into a mirror. There was nothing different about him in the mirror. Except that is, Lin Feng was shocked. He saw that there was a shiny golden ball in his dantian. It did not exist before. The most shocking thing was that this golden ball, which was not very big, had a terrifying energy. It can't be. Lin Feng seemed to have understood. Child, you should have seen the golden ball in your body. This is the reward for your perfect body. As for its use, you will know in the future. I don't mind telling you that this golden ball is the most precious treasure in this Panga staircase. Its value even exceeds the god-slaying axe at the top of the Panga staircase. After all, no matter how good a weapon is, there will be a day when it is broken. However, this golden ball can help you conquer a territory in the starry world. Cherish it well. The benevolent voice paused for a moment before continuing. If you and I are really fated to meet, wait until you reach the highest level of the Panga staircase and obtain the god-slaying axe, the super divine weapon that I use to dominate the starry sky world. The voice echoed in Lin Feng's mind. What he brought was a deep shock that lingered in the air for 3 feet. Who was this voice? There was no need to guess. Lin Feng was 100% sure that it was the Almighty who created the Pangu staircase and Panga technique. Senior Pangu. Jin Yuan? This Jin Yuan should be the terrifying power from before. Lin Feng secretly exhorted. When he thought of the power that he was completely unable to resist just now, he felt a wave of fear. However, he did not expect that this terrifying power had already entered his body. However, according to Senior Pangu, the gold ingot was not only harmless to him, but also of great help. However, can't you just tell me how to use it, Senior? Lin Feng smiled helplessly. He still had to figure out how to use this gold ingot from the very beginning. It must be a priceless treasure. Senior Pangu's strength and status in the starry sky world far exceeded his master, Bailey Feng. From what he had said, this gold ingot was even more precious than his super divine weapon, the god-slaying axe. It was truly a generous gift. It seems that my starry sky road should be much smoother, right? Lin Feng smiled. But what he didn't know was that everything was just a wild guess. Everyone had their own destiny, and Lin Feng's destiny had already been decided from the moment he was born. His life had been rough and bumpy. If he could endure it, he would naturally become an emperor. Otherwise, only death awaited him. Perfect body. His clone had truly attained a perfect body. His 10 years of bitter cultivation had not been in vain. Although his clone's strength had yet to reach the starry sky level, it was comparable to an intermediate starry sky warrior or even stronger. According to Duo, once Lin Feng broke through to become a starry sky warrior, he would be outstanding among starry sky warriors. He would be comparable to an advanced starry sky warrior with the strength of a beginner starry sky warrior. How powerful was a gap of 2 levels? There were very few people who cultivated the body Dao, and a perfect body was even more unique. Although Duo didn't understand the true use of a perfect body, he could infer that it was like a foundation. To reach the most perfect level of a starry sky expert, one of the requirements was that one had to have a perfect body as a starry sky warrior. Of course, the strength of a perfect body exceeded that of an ordinary body Dao expert. Compared to an expert who cultivated astral origin power, it was even more insignificant. The more solid the foundation, the higher one's future achievements. After returning from the Panga staircase, Lin Feng quickly entered seclusion. On the 5,999th level, apart from the gift of gold essence, a super treasure from Pangu, there was also a notebook that recorded how a perfect body could cross the threshold of the starry sky level. Unlike other warriors, the threshold of a perfect body was rather difficult. The heavens were fair. The stronger one was, the more restrictions there were. However, with the guidance of a pioneer like Pangu, Lin Feng undoubtedly saved himself a lot of obstacles and broke through to the starry sky level. It was just a matter of time. A year later. I'm leaving, Lin Feng suddenly said. Oh, is that so? All right. Ziyao, Qin Xianqian, Huang Yin, and Yuma were quite calm. They were still doing their own things. The one who was feeding her daughter continued to feed her daughter. The one who was teaching martial arts continued to teach, and the one who was reading didn't even raise her head. Now, Lin Feng's family was quite lively. There were nearly 10 children in the family. In the 11 years of peace, Lin Feng had created many lives. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Isn't your reaction a little too calm? It's not like you won't come back. That's right. There are so many clones. There will always be one at home. Go. The girls spoke one after another. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh helplessly. Indeed, his main body was now like a great sage. He had the talent of connection and the ability to create unlimited clones. Therefore, he left his main body in the battle spirit world to accompany his family. His main body had already broken through to the starry sky level, but it wasn't difficult for him to leave behind a peak sage monarch avatar. Be careful, Feng Lin Wanqing said with a kind smile. She was still carrying a grandson who wasn't even a month old. Brother, I'll catch up to you soon. Lin Yun's eyes lit up. When the time comes, the two of us will roam the starry sky world together. All right, I'll wait for you. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and hugged his younger brother. His younger brother had worked very hard for the past 11 years. Although his aptitude was slightly lacking, he was now a sage monarch. Breaking through to the starry sky level was only a matter of time for him. However, the strongest person in the kingdom of Meru wasn't his younger brother Lin Yun, but his own disciple Qin Ro. The little girl had great potential and amazing comprehension. Her strength was almost comparable to the superhuman experts like Shi Jixin and Thorn. As for his younger sister Lin Shi, her heart wasn't in cultivation at all. Take care of yourself. Don't try to be brave, okay? Qian, believe in your husband. No matter where you go, you'll be the strongest. Father, I'll wait for you to come back and tell me stories about the starry sky world. I want to hear it too. Don't let your guard down, Father. When the time comes, I'll be stronger than you. Ziyao, Yuma, Qian, and Huang Yin brought their children forward and hugged Lin Feng goodbye. How could the four of them really bear to part with him? They were just joking with Lin Feng before. Their eyes were filled with tears, but the four of them knew that Lin Feng longed to roam the world, to become stronger, and to see more of the starry sky. Home was warm, but a warm home required enough strength to protect it. Lin Feng already understood this point when he was very young. Perhaps the Douling world was very peaceful now, but this peace wouldn't last forever. No matter how strong a race or planet was, there would be a day when it would be destroyed. Lin Feng knew very well that only by becoming stronger and stronger could he truly control his own destiny and protect the people he wanted to protect. The world was ever-changing, and only strength was an eternal existence. Fate was in his own hands. He bid farewell to his wives, children, and family members one by one. In the Southern Territory, the human masters stood in neat rows. Whether they were Saint level or Saint King level masters, they were all like new recruits, not daring to move. Their eyes were filled with reverence and faith as they looked at Lin Feng, their idol, suppressing the excitement in their hearts. They were here to witness the god of the human countries, human sovereign Lin Feng, his final farewell. He was about to break through the void and leave the Douling world for a wider starry sky world. Help us scout the way first, Lin Feng. We'll be there soon, haha. Juan Macho was still as carefree as ever, but there was a hint of reluctance in her eyes. From the Qianwu continent to the Douling world, and then to the starry sky. We'll catch up very soon. Xiao Jian's eyes were sharp, and he smiled confidently. And us husband and wife. Thorn smiled and hugged Shi Jixin. Stop! Who's husband and wife with you? Shi Jixin blushed and reprimanded. But it was love, and the two of them were now a perfect couple. Lin Feng looked at his friend from the Douling world with a smile, brimming with friendship. They were all comrades who would never leave each other. Feng Ning, Xiao Jian, Shun, King Yin, King Lu, Shui Yumei, Shui Linglong, and all his friends from the Douling world were here. Looking at them, the emotions of parting surged in his heart, and he felt a little emotional. All right, stop dawdling. It's not like you're not coming back. Duo urged. You're too slow. Look at the great sage and Gu Sheng. They've been waiting for you in the Netherworld ship. I'm coming. Lin Feng smiled. Then, he waved goodbye to everyone. With a flash, Lin Feng entered the Netherworld ship. Following Duoduo's control, the Netherworld ship flashed with a cold luster. It was like an ancient beast soaring into the sky, leaving behind a dazzling luster as it rumbled and left the Douling world. This is the starry sky. In the Netherworld ship, Gu Sheng's eyes were shining. Swoosh! Looking at the scenery outside the Netherworld ship, the great sage's eyes were also shining. Are we still going to the Agate Star area? Duo asked again. Yes. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. TSK. He didn't listen to my advice. Duo muttered, looking at Gu Sheng with an unlucky face. He snorted, You win. Of course. Give me the bet. Gu Sheng smiled and opened his hand, taking a crystal from Duo. He chuckled. I told you that Lin Feng and Thousand Love Empress are having an affair, but you didn't believe me. Now, do you believe me? Huh, an affair your head. Lin Feng laughed and scolded. Haha, fire refines the starry sky. End. New book, Blade Shatters the Starry Sky. Book number 3482. Xiao has no time to rest. Continue to write diligently. I hope that brothers and sisters who support Fire Refines the Starry Sky will continue to support Xiao's new book. Thank you. Adat. Chapter 1732. My fellow readers, thank you. Thank you for supporting Xiao all the way to the end. After more than 2 years, Fiery Refinement of the Cosmos finally came to an end. Although there were many disappointments and dissatisfactions, and Xiao had made many mistakes in the middle, she had successfully concluded Fiery Refinement of the Cosmos. As for the scene at the Cosmos level, at all right, Xiao is sorry. To be honest, more than 5 million words were already very long. If she continued writing, it would feel like there was no end to it. It was about time. In any case, Lin Feng was already powerful enough. He had the undying talent, connection. He had also obtained Pengu's legacy and a perfect body. Even monsters like the world-destroying Fiend Celestial would be wiped out if they entered the cosmos, right? So let's stop here. Most importantly, her thoughts were flowing like a fountain. Xiao's head had already jumped onto her new book, Blade Shatters the Galaxy. Once again, she kowtowed and thanked all her fellow readers. Thank you for your unwavering support over the past 2 years. Xiao sincerely and shamelessly begged all of you to continue supporting Xiao's new book. Xiao promises that she will be in the best state and with the best motivation to complete her new book. I can't guarantee that it will be better than Fiery Refinement of the Cosmos, but at the very least, my attitude and speed of updating will definitely be better than Fiery Refinement of the Cosmos. I thought a lot when I wrote Fiery Refinement of the Cosmos. In terms of talent, I might not be as outstanding as others, but at the very least, I can work harder than others. I hope everyone can give Xiao a chance and fulfill her promise. My new book, Blade Shatters the Galaxy, is 3482. I hope everyone will like it. For the last time, I sincerely thank everyone. I hope to see you in the comment section of Blade Shatters the Galaxy again. I'll be waiting for you, Carrot. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.